Happy Friday. Welcome to today's office hours. This is a special office hours because we have a variety of different individuals or agencies represented on our call today. Today's office hours will be targeted towards housing service providers, developers, and property managers. I want to give everybody at least a few more seconds. I still have a few people coming in. So once we get started, we won't have any interruptions. Just so you will know, all of our office hour sessions are recorded and posted on our website. All individuals are muted. You will be can place yourself off of mute if you have a question. I think we're good. Once again, good morning. My name is Tamara Stewart Henderson. I am the Vice President of Federal Grants at Mississippi Home Corporation. I work mainly with our housing service providers. Today's office hours, we will be talking about the deeper targeting points for low-income housing tax credits and working with Mississippi Home Corporation's approved housing service providers. So what's new? The 2026 QAP deeper targeting language has changed. It reads as follows. Applicants agree to prioritize referrals from an approved MHC housing service provider as listed in Addendum L. A letter of commitment between the owner, the property manager, and the housing service provider must be included in the application. The letter of commitment must include the development's commitment to set aside units to persons on the housing service provider's waiting list first. The letter of commitment must also include the housing provider's commitment to provide temporary rental assistance, case management, and other supportive services to persons placed at the development for no more than 24 months. This is the new language that is added, and because we have this language, as you're joining in on the call, I would like for you to use the chat message to type your name, your agency, and if you are a developer, a housing service provider, because you have a housing service program by MHC, or if you're a property manager, because networking will be critical for this to be successful. The current requirements for deeper target points, you must set aside at least 15% of your total units for persons at or below 30% AMI. You must have a 40-year LORA, and you must include a deeper target statement in the application. What is added? You must also have a letter of commitment signed by a housing service provider. You have to prioritize eligible households referred by the housing provider, and the housing provider has to commit to provide up to 24 months of services. There are many benefits of working with our housing service providers, and because of the time, I'm only limited them to the 5 benefits I will share with you all. 1, access to the target population. All of our housing service providers are currently working with individuals with 30% AMI or less, so you don't have to go far to get access to the target population. 2, documentation. Our housing service providers have to document that they are working with eligible clients, so you have access to the documentation. 3, and which I would think is the most important one, is the case management. All of our housing service providers are required to provide case management, and we provide good case management where we meet with clients at minimum of once a month, which is needed for households with income at 30% or less. 4, our housing providers can provide financial support to help them maintain housing. And 5,
shutting down, everything's starting to shut down.
if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna try to mute everyone again.
So I'm gonna go.
I'm sorry about that. And 5, stability planning. The goal of the case managers and the housing service providers is to work with these households to self-sustainability. At Mississippi Home Corporation, we currently have 4 housing service programs. However, these programs tend to grow every 3 to 4 years. Right now, we have the Home ARP program, which provides supportive services and TBRA. We have the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, the Housing Opportunities for Persons with HIV or AIDS program, also known as HOPWA, and the Choice program, which a lot of our developers are very familiar with because of the MAOI set-aside. All 4 of our programs serve those with 30% AMI or less. Under ESG, they can be served through rapid rehousing or homeless prevention. Under HOPWA, they can be served through STIRMI, which is short-term rental mortgage utility assistance, TBRA or permanent housing placement. Under Home ARP, they can be served through supportive services or TBRA as well. And under Choice, they have a Choice subsidy voucher. What are these services that we can provide? It's a lot of services these tenants will have access to. Regardless of the program that's being provided, they will have access for up to 24 months of rental assistance. Some of our programs can provide more than 24 months of assistance if that's needed. Excuse me. All of the programs can pay for the move-in costs, which includes the deposits to move in, the application fees to move in. All of our programs can pay for rental arrears if someone's behind on their rent, or utility arrears. And all of our programs provide case management. Now, depending on the program, you may have some different nuances. For example, the Choice program can pay for basic furniture, and then our ESG HOPWA and Home ARP program can pay for job training and employment services. But as a developer, you want to know exactly what do I need to do. So I'm putting it in phases. Right now, they just released the QAP 2026. So we're looking at phase 1. What do I need to do? According to QAP, you need a letter of commitment between the owner, the property manager, and the housing service provider to be included in your low-income housing tax credit application if you're going after deeper target points. To make it easy, we even created a sample letter of commitment. You can use the one that we've created, or you can add more information if you would like to, but the specific language of your commitment to prioritize and the housing provider commitment to provide services must remain the same. In the letter of commitment that we are providing, it has the date that you're going into this commitment, the agency name, the housing provider name, the property name. It also lists the total number of units that you're dedicating for deeper target. And then it has the responsibility of the owner and the responsibilities of the housing provider. The responsibilities of the owner is very simple. Each property must designate a point of contact that will help with the coordination between housing service providers and those units. The point of contact must notify Mississippi Home Corporation if there are any personnel changes within 10 business days. The property must provide the housing provider with all property eligibility requirements. That's where we can make sure that they're only referring eligible applicants. The property must respond to the housing provider inquiries and maintain clear communication with the service agencies regarding available units and referral status. And the property must maintain a signed copy of the letter of commitment just for compliance purposes, so you're always ready in time of inspections. The housing provider, Mississippi Home Corporation approved housing providers, also have a list of responsibilities identified on this letter of commitment. They are responsible for referring eligible and appropriate tenants to the deeper target units. They are also responsible for ensuring that those individuals referred to deeper target units have incomes at or below the 30% AMI. They must verify that the referred households meet all of the property eligibility requirements. They must provide eligible services, for example, temporary rental assistance, case management, and anything else that's needed for their sustainability for up to 24 months, according to the program regulations and the client's needs. Please keep in mind that if your 30% AMI units are already subsidized by the housing authority, then additional subsidies cannot be added to a subsidized unit. And what I mean is if you have a housing authority voucher on that unit, then additional TIBA voucher cannot be added to that unit, but they can still look at other services that can be rendered. Finally, the housing provider must maintain regular contact with the tenant, monitoring their progress towards housing stability and self-sufficiency. Our list of housing providers for 2025 is available in the QAP and will be available on the website. It is not posted there as yet. But here is the list. Take a screenshot if you do not have this list as yet. We also provided maps. This is a map of all of the programs and all of the agencies all together. However, we do have programmatic maps that was actually created by the Barnes Estate. We have our Home map, Home ARP map, and our ESG maps. Before we go into phase 2, I just want to clarify and make sure everyone's understanding that all you need when you're applying for the deeper target points, according to QAP 2026, is a signed letter of commitment from one of those housing service providers. That's all that needs to be submitted when you put in your low income housing tax credit applications. Now, you got your low income housing tax credit application approved. You have the deeper target set aside. So what do we do next? We move to Lisa. How would this look when you're working with our housing providers? We want to make sure we have documentation for everything. So we created forms, getting the referrals. The property point of contact must notify the housing service provider when they are ready to start identifying tenants for their deeper target units. The property point of contact can send the housing provider a request for referrals form that identifies the number of units, the unit size, and the date the units will be available. This is a screenshot of how the referral form looks, and it's available on our website. Or when the housing provider identifies an appropriate application for the property that they have a relationship with, they can send a deeper target referral to the property. The referral must include the release of information, verification that their income is at or below 30% AMI, and all of the property eligibility documents. And here is how that housing provider referral form looks. A little more information because we have the applicant information, verification of their household size and household income, the property information, the unit size that's being requested, the referring agency, the type of support services that will be provided and the program, and then a requirement for them to attach the needed documentation for that property. In some cases, depending on where the property is or depending on how much units need to be filled, the housing provider may not have enough referrals. If the housing provider has no referrals to meet the request, the housing provider will provide notification of no available referrals using this form. However, the next available deeper target unit must be prioritized for referrals from the housing provider if an eligible referral becomes available. This will be completed by the housing provider and signed and dated. In phase 2, we do have responsibilities of the property manager and developer and responsibilities of the housing provider. So in phase 2, the property manager or developer owner will be responsible for maintaining the property in compliance with the HUD's Inspire standards and keeping inspection records available for Mississippi Home Corporation review. Owners must also execute standard lease agreements with prioritized applicants referred by the housing provider. And upon vacancy, they must first market deeper target units to Mississippi Home Corporation approved housing providers. Owners are required to make every reasonable effort to lease available units to eligible referrals. But the owners are not required to hold units vacant if referrals are unavailable. The housing provider, they're responsible to collect and maintain appropriate eligibility document. They're responsible for providing needed eligible services, as I mentioned before, for example, temporary rental assistance, case management, and support services up to 24 months. Keeping in mind, if the unit is subsidized by the housing authority, then financial assistance may not be an option. The housing provider must document income and collect income recertification requirements. The housing provider shall conduct recertification for 30% AMI households in accordance with the appropriate policy. Same timeline applies. The housing provider must provide the deeper target property managers with a copy of the recertification and any documentation they may have regarding income updates. The income recertification conducted by the housing provider does not negate or replace the developer or property manager's obligation to verify and maintain current household income information as required for compliance purposes. We try to make it as simple as possible. That's why we have so many forms from the beginning when you apply for your QAP, deeper target units to the lease up process, so it can be easily documented. All of our forms will be available on our website. If you want me to email specific forms to you, especially the example or the sample letter of commitment, if you shoot me an email inside the chat, I will be happy to send that over to you. Additionally, on our website, you will find the list of approved housing services providers for 2025, and you'll also find Mississippi Home Corporation programs crosswalk that goes over all the different housing service programs that we have and how they can be paired or used with low-income housing tax credits. We're just at about that time where we take in questions. I'm about to open the mic. Please raise your hand or just unmute your mic if you have any questions about this process. I'll go ahead and I will send the forms to anyone that put their emails inside the chat box. If I don't have your email, the forms will also be available on our website. But I like to go into my little spiel because I've seen communities look just like this in Jackson, where the homes are blighted or abandoned and the streets need repair. And then I see where low-income housing taxpayers come in rural and urban cities in Mississippi and give it a full facelift. And then layering that with housing support services, we can make big changes in our community and impact those most in need. If you haven't thought of your questions right now, you need time to think about it, sleep about it, review the information and come back to me. Feel free to email me or call me. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Also, I'm asking all of our housing providers to be flexible. What I mean by that, if you in your application with us, you're only serving 5 or 6 counties, but yet you have a relationship with a developer in the county over, and you want to work with that developer, MAC will be flexible with allowing you to add those counties in your service for the deeper target. So we are not just confounding you to a specific county that you might have added or included in your application if you already have those relationships with certain developers. All right, y'all. I thought I had some questions today, but since I don't, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Once again, feel free to call me with any questions or you need more information. This change is only for a deeper target. We did not go over specialized population because this change or this update was only for deeper target. Oh, Deborah, you have a question. Go ahead.
Yes, I saw that you had on there that there's a form we could use if we don't have any people. Does that apply to if we did the apply for if we have a property that used a 2019-2020 QAP?
So no, that form, okay, you're talking about the MAOI. That form is only for the deeper target 2026. However, Deborah, I do know your situation out there, your properties, and we are working on a better way to track that because sometimes we don't have MAOI referrals.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Leah, yes.
So to be clear, on the properties that were under the 2019-2020 QAPs, you're saying that the notification of no available referrals regarding MAOI is not applicable to those developments?
What I'm saying is that this presentation is changes for deeper target units. We're not discussing MAOI right now. However, I do know that we need to have some type of form to help you all document unavailable MAOI tenants. Once that is generated, I'll make sure everyone have access to that.
I see. I'm looking at the form now and I see it does say deeper targeting 30% AMI units as opposed to referring to a special needs set aside.
That's correct.
Got it. Thanks.
And for those who don't, I'll go back real quick to that because I think that will make the process, at least for the deeper target, more streamlined when you don't have access to the population. It will be a form looking just like this to identify the units that you try to lease up, and that our housing provider will certify that they have no available referrals at this time to meet your need, and they will sign and date it. But as I say, you may be like me who need to sleep on it and come back with some questions. I am available for any questions that may come later on. Feel free to give me a call and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you all so much and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.